faculty, staff, guests from within or outside campus. I'm Louis Chidisoki, the director of BU's African American Studies program. Now, you're soon going to be introduced to our very special guest, but I'd like to give a shout out to our AFAM affiliate, Andre de Quadros, for his great work in making tonight's event possible. Now, as I spread the word of tonight's event, I received a familiar response. Many people pointed out how timely it was, or how the timing was so right considering the condition of the country in relationship to race, racism, Black life, and power. I knew that was a compliment, but I was taken aback because timeliness clearly suggests speaking to this moment, which this event certainly does. But I couldn't help but wonder when it would not be timely. After all, the issues here are generations old, so deep, in fact, that they have come not just to impact Black families, but in fact to shape them. So our event isn't just timely, it's bigger than this moment. It is historical and threatens us with its timeliness, or rather its endlessness. Tonight, our guests share their struggles with this history and against its endlessness. And now, children of war.
Why it had to happen to them? Life ain't fair. Life ain't fair. Wishing God would have put an end to them, say they dare. So many no longer hold sacred God. They say it is too hard to believe in a forsaken God. But was it God who forsaken them? Pursuing what without truly considering them? Legislating laws which never protected them. Still it was God, the beef still placed on him. A drug war waged upon a people and the children they bore. So now forgotten casualties are serving life for committing serious juvenile delinquencies. Just because their projected parole date is not outside of their life expectancy. So sad how in reality, they are still life without parolees. Cause ain't too many uneducated minorities ever see a life beyond their 70s. So many new entries in a system so archaic. It's only nearest kin is slavery, ain't it? Not Jim Crow. Although I do find the interaction between inmates and correctional officers, so-called CEOs, to be so strikingly similar to the whites and the so-called Negroes back in the days of old jumping Jim Crow. Still signs on doors, inmates or staff only types of segregation, leaving no room for exaggeration. You an inmate, they say it with such disdain and hatred, as though it justifies a supposed superiority. Yet so many of them look just like me. They may be, it's just reverse inferiority. Oh, please, don't get caught reckless eyeballing one of those good, wholesome women by Mr. Whitey. Oh, I meant Master CEO. But don't they know that in actuality, we're all just children who become forgotten casualties of a drug called war and the children it bore. Need I say more? Hi, my name is Raj Jahalatufari Shabazz. I was born in Miami-Dade County. Like so many in my city at the time, I was involved in the drug trade. By 1996, my involvement eventually landed me in federal court for conspiracy to sell and distribute crack cocaine. I was 24 when I was first indicted, married with 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. In a trial that lasted only 3 days, I was convicted and sentenced to serve 2 life sentences and 40 years. Can you believe it? I had been raised in a family-orientated environment. So naturally, my children were the center of my life. But now, there was no way to explain to them what this life sentence meant for us as a family. So I didn't. My heart was truly crushed. Our world spun out of control. In 1997, I was sent to Beaumont, Texas to begin serving out my sentence, putting us hundreds of miles apart from one another. My incarceration had unforeseen consequences. Not only did it affect my children, but it also took a serious toll on my nieces, nephews, stepchildren, and all those who had no other father figure in their life but me. As my life took a dive, so did the lives of all the children of my life. I would eventually be shipped to several penitentiaries across America. Throughout the ordeal of my incarceration, I did my best to maintain communication with my children through letters and limited phone calls. In prison, inmates have four main outlets for relieving stress: books, learning, religious devotion, working out, and the arts. Throughout those years of my incarceration, I would eventually use them all. Books and religion became the bedrock of my sanity. But every once in a while, to memorialize feelings or thoughts that I had bottled up inside, I would write poetry. Yet it wasn't until 2015 that I decided to write a book entitled Thoughts, Opinions, and Prayers of Raj J.T. Shabazz. The poem Children of War was part of that book. In 2020, I met Dr. Andre, shared with him a revised version of the poem and my thoughts about the subject. And that same year, alhamdulillah, after serving nearly 24 years in prison, I was released based upon the emotion for compassionate release. I stayed in touch with Dr. Dre, as I love to call him, who later introduced me to the CFA Prison Arts Project. I was invited along with my son to work with them on a piece on the Children of War concept, and that's when I met the talented Von Derek Taylor. I am so honored to be here today and to be given this chance to work with my son after so many years, also to have the opportunity to share with you all a poem that expresses some of my deepest thoughts about the plights of my children and so many other children across the nation, those voiceless, those forgotten voices who are serving time with their parents.
Hi, how's everyone doing today? I go by the name of MBE June. I was born Jahala Tafar Shabazz in Miami, Florida. I am the son of Rosh Jahala Shabazz, who was arrested in 1996, a week before my fourth birthday, and received a life sentence. In 2001, my mother moved me and my sisters to Atlanta to move back with my mother's side of the family for financial support. I found art as an outlet to deal with my reality, starting off with poetry and eventually transforming that poetry into songs. This led me to starting my own record label by 2015 at the age of 21. I now have a family of my own that I raised here in Conyers, Georgia, with a 6-year-old stepson and a 2-year-old daughter. Following my father's release from prison, I was introduced to Dr. Andre, Judy Braha, Von Derek Taylor, where we talked and collaborated on a visual response to my father's poem, Children of War, titled Children of War 2.0. Now, I'd like to introduce you guys to Von Derek Taylor.
Thank you, thank you. Hello, everybody. It's a blessing to be here. I am Von Derek Taylor. I was born and raised in the heart and soul of New Orleans, Louisiana, and I studied acting at Boston University College of Fine Arts, class of 2020, and New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, class of 2016. Through acting and storytelling, I found a love for connection and giving hope, where I joined Judy Braha and Dr. Andre in the CFA Prison Arts Project at Suffolk County Jail. After graduation, I returned back home to continue my passion in creating change as a storyteller, as a Black man, a Black artist, a Black human being in America, where I connected on the journey of Children of War by Rosh Jahala, and I connected with Jahala, and we began our journey in creating Children of War 2.0. And that's where I found freedom and peace in building a bridge and continuing the conversation of Children of War, which leads me to ask you a question, Jahala. In your mind, how do you think your art acts as a beacon of hope for children who are left behind?
Yeah, great question, Von Derek. And I actually believe that my art form actually speaks directly to children that's going through what I've gone through Children of War. I believe that it allows them to see someone like them who experienced the same thing they experienced and was able to overcome a lot of the obstacles and the things that society had thrown at me. And to be able to still find an outlet through my art and through my music, I think that can be an inspiration to many other people like me. Hopefully, it does inspire a lot of other children of war to find a different outlet other than the same path that maybe their parents or older siblings went through. But I also want to ask you a question that actually makes me think of something here, Von Derek. You're well spoken, and with the poem that we did, the poetry that we did, I was very impressed, and so it just makes me want to know, like, how long have you been doing it, or did you just wake up that good?
No, not at all. It's been time. It's been definitely time. Poetry has been another language to me. It's a different way of speaking. It's something I've always loved as a kid. But that love really grew and developed through acting, especially during my years at BU, being blessed with the opportunity to portray people and specific stories of great poetic details. It contributes to the reason I consider myself a storyteller and not just an actor. Poetry for me is not just words, but it's the musicality in my voice, the spiritual essence in my body. It's the way I move. I paint pictures with poetry, and it's how I continue to bring forth important conversations that are needed to be dissected.
Well spoken, well said. I appreciate that insight. I never thought about it from that perspective, as far as poetry being a voice, and I like how you elaborated that there. Well, sitting here thinking, I have a question for my dad. I want to ask my dad. It's been so long. 24 years. I just want to know, do you remember how I reacted when you first went to prison? I know I was so young at the time, I have trouble remembering, but if you could tell me how it was at the time. You're on mute, by the way.
At the beginning, it was, it's kind of funny because we didn't say anything. And then, here it is. Like I said, I chose not to really say anything because, like, how can I say something to y'all like, hey, look, I got a life sentence and it's gonna be a long road. I really couldn't go. It just was nothing that you would tell a child. So I chose not to say anything. And we just went with the story that you was used to when I go out of town. That, oh, daddy's at work. He's going to work, and amazingly, you ran with that story for a very, very long time. Your mother, she started, was like, oh, something wrong with this boy. He ain't stressing me, And so for her, she was like, she needed to maybe send you to get see a psychiatrist or something. And I was like, nah, he cool. Let him be. So, it was just, you was used to me leaving. So at that very, very beginning, that's how it was. You just kind of like went with the flow of things, like, daddy's at work or daddy's gone, But then I know it was a time that it came that where you found out that I was in prison. Possibly it was the prison first and then the life sentence. So, just to ask you how did that go? Like, was it, you found out first that I was in jail and then later that I had a life sentence, and how did that affect you?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. That's a great question. Honestly, like you said at the beginning, I didn't really take in the fact that, well, I didn't know that you was going to be gone as long as you were going to be gone, and it was hard for me to take in the fact that you were gone. But I always kept the hope that you would be coming out this year. You always tell me, inshallah, I'll be out this year. So I always look forward to that. But growing older, I started to realize, okay, he's not here yet. It's been years and he's still not out. So that's when it started to sink in, and I guess it was around my teenage years is when I started to get into a lot of trouble. and my mom finding out some things that I was getting into, she panicked, and in a panic she told me, "Hey, you know, your dad, he has a life sentence. You know, he's never coming home. Or do you want to be like? Do you want that life to be you? You know, you want that to be your life?" And you know, at the time, you know, I know she had good intentions, but
Yeah.
it definitely made me act out a little bit more, and sent me into, you know, a state of depression, honestly. But yeah, I think that's what I remember from that. But you know, just thinking about that, that makes me think about another question for Von Derek here. Von Derek, you know, with you not necessarily um, being directly affected the same way I was by this concept, but I just want to know, how do you see yourself relating to this concept of children of war or child of war? You know, what does it, you know, mean to you?
Mm, Well, just off the bat, I appreciate that question truly. That's especially going towards me. That's being Black in the United States, someone who believes heavily that children are a part of the foundation of change in this country. I feel like I relate deeply to children of war. I have a younger brother, a younger nephew, and a younger niece, and witnessing firsthand how this world affects them, and even more importantly, how they affect this world. Children of War is a prime example of why I must continue to be a guiding light for them as they grow up. I was heavily blessed to grow up with both my parents, as were they. But what about those who weren't? What can I do? What can they do, my nephew and my niece, to help bring hope to those who need it? And that's really how I feel like I relate to children of war, being that helping hand. What can I do to guide them in the right direction? What can I do to just listen, to simply listen? Because I feel like listening is a really, really powerful tool. And that's what really guides me to the work I do. And with Children of War, it's the result of that power, that raw, vulnerable, honest emotion. Uh, our art serves as a beacon of hope. And that makes me think about a question for you, Jahala. Relating to that, do you feel exposure to your work might help young people see another path that could lead them out of harm's way in their journey forward?
Yeah, great question. Great question, Von Derek. I definitely feel that way. I feel as though my previous music and my previous work spoke to exactly how I was feeling and going through at the time. So it was fitting for that time in my life, and I feel like that'll help people relate to me and feel personable when they listen to the music, feel like they can connect with me and see that I'm just like them in a way. But it was actually through the creation of this work here, which we're about to introduce to everyone, which is Children of War 2.0, where I started to see where I could really take this and how I could really use my art form to impact those that, you know, are children of war, and those young African Americans that may have the same exact circumstances and situations, but are still being affected by the fallacies that we have here in America. So I just hope that when people listen to my music or people see this artwork, art form that we're delivering, that they're impacted in a positive way and want to make change, just like we're striving to do. But just speaking on that, it kind of makes me think. You know, I want to ask my dad. You know, what made you what sparked you to write Children of War? You know, what inspired you?
Truthfully, it was actually you. And a lot of my poems, I speak about the plight of children in this situation of incarceration. But the Children of War actually was because of you. As you you look in the poem, it says, life ain't fair, life ain't fair. This was actually something that, you was when you was going through, at the time I would, it's deep depression at that, your mother, made you write me, because she wrote a letter and she told me I made him write you to explain to you some of the things he was saying. And so in the letter, within the letter, you was like, I had felt like that, life ain't fair because, you being, like you been taken away from me, and I can understand because, we was very close. We was like anybody that, and you see now that everybody who see you, be like, oh, they know you already because, I used to carry you around, and I felt like that by all my kids, but you being older than them, you had the experience of going around with me. So I was like devastated to see how you was like life ain't, because I'm taking away that life ain't fair. And he was like wishing God, like you would have died. Like, and that's why in the other line it says, that the kids, wishing God would have put an end to them, say they dare. It's like because of that depression, and I've seen it in the faces of dudes in prison. I watched them how they, went through it. And as one time before, I remember sharing in one of the workshops that we had how I knew a friend, his daughter actually tried to tell him to get under her jacket. She was going to sneak him out the visiting room. And, and the absurdity of the notion that he could get up under her jacket was overshadowed by the fact that she really and she was passionate about it and crying, come on, daddy, come on, daddy. So I never forgot that. And so like writing that poem, it was you that gave me the impetus to write it, but it was all of what I had seen that really culminated to saying, you know what, it's like the orphans left during the World War One and the World War II or the Civil War, it left so many orphans and so many kids, that were stranded. And this is the same thing. This war on drugs or this war on crime, it is creating a very similar and frightening effect that is leaving all of these children here to, like you said, when you heard about it, you even got a little more angry. But it was that made me decide to write that poem. And it was your letter. I kept all y'all letters, and I got tons of them, and it was the thing that I would read and reread, and it kind of helped me and maintain, my sanity in a sense. All of the letters that I wrote you, what did you do with your letters, and did you keep any of them?
Oh man, it's crazy. It's crazy that you're bringing that up because I could remember specifically during the times where I was going through it, the toughest. I mean, where I remember my mom would always put me on punishment to try to correct me, but I was someone who could make something out of nothing. So putting me in a room and taking TV and all those privileges didn't mean anything to me. I remember those were the times where I would sit down in a corner and just go through your letters, letter after letter, just reading letters, and it would kind of bring me to a place to start writing. And I never connected the dots until maybe this moment right here, that maybe that's kind of what inspired me and led me to being creative and using my artistry. But yeah, I remember that's what I used to do. Sit down and read those letters and
Yeah,
think about it.
it has an effect on you because like your letters were different than the girls. The girls, daddy, they got the sweetest letters. I love their letters. You was always thought provoking, like, but man, how am I gonna get this dude? And like when I would come with something, you would come with something, and I'm like, man, this guy here is something else. It's like, and you wasn't like arguing or nothing, but you'd be like, see, daddy, and you would have your little comeback, and they used to tickle me to death, man. But it's that which, as we know in the poem, it brings that, it's a moment of depression that kids go through and people go through, and that's why in the poem I was inspired and to share that with y'all again. So many no longer hold sacred God. They say it is too hard to believe in a forsaken God. but not by the young urban queen who just lost her king and everything. God was all she had. Now a mom dad, as she searched for the pieces of her lost urban Black American dream, a Black Wall Street is what it seemed. Now it seems they have clipped her wings. His life in prison is her life imprisoned. The soul of a caged bird fighting so hard to sing amongst life's infidelities, oh, so strangling. So with her last, she heaves, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Oh, Lord, please protect my babies and grant their father relief. A drug war waged upon a people and the children they bore.
I just needed some answers. When they took you, that killed me inside just like cancer. Collect every time when you call and I answer. Collect every time when you call and I answer. That means I get charged to talk to the man that created me. Man, God must have hated me. Main reason that I'm always there for my daughter, because I know the impact of life with no father. The good out the bad, it just helps me go harder. When money was low, knew I had to move smarter. Because they'll take your life in the blink of an eye, just for trying to bring your family a piece of the pie. Inside the jail, how I'm feeling inside. Probably why I'm cold-hearted and giving cold shoulders. I carried a chip that's the size of a boulder. It only got bigger as I got much older, because I learned that killing someone gets you closer to your family than my own. You do a little time, then you come home. Or go home the same day because of self-defense. But who's there to defend the youthful innocence? They get stripped at the seams. They start to rip apart Black families, leaving a single mother to make a man of me.
Leaving a single mother to make a man of me. Leaving a single mother to make a man of me. Leaving a single mother to make a man of me. He just needed some answers. The damaging effects of hope like a cancer, slowly killing him inside. Not knowing the next time he can cry, because he holds all the strength for his next generation to rise sky high. Do you understand now? This was never a part of the plan, so how did our Black fathers become trapped in trumpets of prison and pain, leaving our Black kids with nothing but questions on the brain? Maybe because these privileged cats didn't think about Black when writing the Constitution, resulting in us protesting for Black life, freedom, and evolution, while these terrorists attack capitals for a vote and our execution. But this is America. Or was that too childish to say? He just needed some answers. It's the kids who hurt most at the end of the day.
Amazing, amazing.
Lord, thank you for allowing me to see another day. Thank you for all you've done for me and you continue to do for me, Lord. Lord, I ask that this day is another prosperous and blessed day, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen. I just needed some answers. When they took them, that killed me inside just like cancer. Collect every time when you call and I answer. Collect every time when he calls and I answer. That mean I get charged to talk to the man that created me. Man, God must have hated me. Man, reason that I'm always there for my daughter, because I know the impact of life with no father. The good out the bad, it just helped me go harder. When money was low, knew I had to move smarter. Because they'll take your life in the blink of an eye just for trying to bring your family a piece of the pie. The inside the jail, how I'm feeling inside. Probably why I'm cold-hearted and giving shoulders. I carried a chip that's the size of a boulder.
It only got bigger as I got much older, cause I learned that killing someone gets you closer to your family than my own. You do a little time and you come home, or go home the same day because of self-defense. But who's there to defend the youthful innocence that get stripped at the seams? They start to rip apart black families, leaving a single mother to make a man of me.
Leaving a single mother to make a man of me. Leaving a single mother to make a man of me. Leaving a single mother to make a man of me. He just needed some answers. The damaging effects of hope like a cancer, slowly killing him inside. Not knowing the next time he can cry, cause he holds all the strength for his next generation to rise sky high. Do you understand now? This was never a part of the plan, so how did our black fathers become trapped in trumpets of prison and pain, leaving our black kids alone with nothing but questions on the brain? Maybe because these privileged cats didn't think about black when writing the Constitution, resulting in us protesting for black life, freedom, and evolution, while these terrorists attack capitals for a vote and our execution. But this is America. Or was that too childish to say? He just needed some answers. It's the kids who hurt most at the end of the day. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing our children to see another day. I pray you arm them with knowledge, arm them with freedom, arm them with peace. I pray you open their eyes to the answers they seek. In the name I pray. Amen.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you to all of you. It's a great, it's an extraordinary event to bring all of us together and closer together. I want to just welcome you all. I'll say a few words more specifically to our principal folks here, but I want to extend a warm welcome to all the participants, all the Zoom attendees, and there are so many of you from different parts of the country and further afield who've joined us tonight or this morning, wherever you might happen to be in the world, and we're very grateful that you're here to be part of this event. Just to Louis Chutsuki, who is the director of this center, we thank him very much for making this possible. This is an extraordinary event. You know, we come closer to understanding the heartbreak, the pain, the incalculable brutality of mass incarceration from a deeply personal experience. When we think about family separations, though, and children who get left behind, just like you were saying, Ras Jahala, we understand deeply that injustices like this have been going on for a very long time. Just like Louis said, it's just not timely now. It's been like this for so long.
Right.
They've been going on for so long. And whether this be as a result of the genocide of indigenous people, whether it's the border walls that have been built and since last century, that separate country from a southern border, whether it's the prison walls that have become an epidemic of brutality, these are manifestations of family separations and manifestations of deep heartbreak. And for those of us who are here and who are inspired by you, Ras Jahala, by you, Jahala, and by you, Vandarik, giving artistic expression, we have messages that we all want to present. In a few moments, I'm going to open up for questions and answers from everybody here. But I mean, first of all, we have to say that this is enough. You know, as citizens of this country, as citizens of this world, we have to say enough to stealing land, enough to building borders and walls, enough of the knee of white supremacy on the necks of African Americans, just enough. And secondly, we have to acknowledge that we are all of us are complicit. We, I mean, speaking for myself and a lot of people like me are complicit in this perpetuation of injustice. And we have to work for ending this injustice. And you know, that's not easy, of course. The changes are going to be hard and difficult and threatening of self and institution and threatening the very foundations upon which we all stand. But we can't move forward anymore as a people, and without mending as much as we can the heartbreak that you are exposing us to. I have a couple of questions for you, Ras Jahala, and you know, having spent so much time working with folks in prison, I mean, many of them said to me, and so many of them are people of color, men and women, they said to me so often, they said, you don't know the kinds of families we grew up in. You don't know what it's like to grow up in families that have been completely altered by mass incarceration. You don't know what it means where grandparents, so there's a grandparent, there's a father, there's an uncle, there's an aunt, there's a mother, there's a relative, and one in three African American women have someone they love in prison. You know, so the statistics are alarming. What is that like? What is mass incarceration doing to the family and social fabric? It's not just leaving a single mother to make a man of me, but it's everything. It's daughters, it's mothers, it's fathers, and so on. Can you just give us a kind of a narrow snapshot of the pain and the resilience and the hope and the heartbreak of this?
Yeah, it's you know, in reality, that question is really too deep. You know, the social context, I mean, the ramifications of mass incarceration is so broad that, you know, I can't even believe that I could do justice in a short question.
I understand.
Short answer, but
yes,
I will say this is that, you know, we look at wars that we know so well in the past, like Civil War, the World War I and II, and we are able to visibly see the destruction there. Well, it's a similar destruction that's going on in the Black communities. I mean, it redefines who we are. You know, the position of the male, the female, the children being rebellious and having, you know, to go it alone, and it's so dynamic that it probably would take many years, just like with all the other wars, to really paint that whole picture out and do some justice towards that question you asked.
Well, I mean, yes, we have a lot to learn, and there's so much to know and understand, and when we come closer to your story and you know, to ask Jahala, you know, I mean, you remember when we started working on this, by the way, you know, you sent this poem to me, Ras Jahala, when you were actually in prison, and I remember,
yeah, exactly.
I remember where I was. I was sitting there, and I thought, I just read that, and it broke me apart to read it, and I didn't know about families, and just remember the people I work with and who are deprived so much. And so Jahala, you know, remember when we started working on this project, you said you actually came close to your father through this process that we were working on and really understanding this poem. And you know, I see you and I feel as if you're a role model for me. Here am I, 3 times your age, and I feel as if you're a role model for me. I feel as if you've got both feet on the ground. You're so, I mean, you're so focused, you're so spiritual, you're so, and yet I'm sure you look around you and you see the destruction of children of war. You see that. And can you give us a picture from where you're standing? What is it? What is the destruction that you see, and what is the pain that you have experienced, and how do you process this, and how do you make this work for you in your own life?
Yeah, great question, and you're very modest, Dr. Dre. But I believe that honestly, it impacts not only the children but the families tremendously. My family personally, I know I have aunts, cousins who just bringing up the topic brings tears to their eyes because they're just thinking about all the memories lost, all the time lost, all the opportunities that went and passed that's lost, and members of family that died and gone that didn't get to see and celebrate like us for his release. Honestly, just people that I went to school with that was going through the same thing, or in my neighborhoods that were going through the same thing, just hearing them talk about thoughts of suicide, thoughts of running away, same things that I was experiencing and going through myself. And one thing I do want to say is a lot of people would think that it's happily ever after once he's released. And like you mentioned, me being able to do this has brought me closer to my father, because the reality of it is, ironic as it sounds, him being away for 24 years, we're still having to communicate every day over phone because he's on house arrest for a year. So even though he's home, we're still having to communicate the same way we had to communicate when he was in prison, which is very ironic. And, when he was in prison, I had all these ideas and thoughts of how it would be when he was released. And this was probably the last way I imagined it or envisioned it being. And so it doesn't end. It's not like it's a okay, he's released and now it's over. No, it's something that we have to live with for the rest of our life. We have to deal with and just it's almost like a death in the family. It's like you never get over it. You just live with it and you keep moving on.
Yeah, it is interesting to hear you saying it's like a death. Well, I mean, Von just one question for you, and then I'm going to see whether we have questions and answers coming from people who are there in the group. So you say you've got both parents, and you've got folks around you who are not living this broken life that we were talking about here, and I can still remember we, Brad, Crystal, our two co-leaders, and Judy and I going with you into the Suffolk County Jail. And I was so inspired by the way in which you, as an actor, connected to people who are in prison. And I'm wondering, well, what is it about you, either as a Black artist or as an artist, as a citizen, as a person who wants to work and commit your life to this kind of activism, arts and activism?
Wow, that's honestly, it's demonstration that brings me to this connection of arts and activism. There's a lot of times where people speak words and they say they want to cause change, but they never really do it. It's when those words aren't enough that it's really time to put on a demonstration. And for me, my arts through the activism is a demonstration. It's that power of hearing. It's that power of listening, really. Children of War is a demonstration. Children of War 2.0 is a demonstration, and it shows how the arts are in deep communication with social justice, with the social construct of just family and what it means to be family. I personally feel that art is a form of freedom from bondage, a gateway or so to peace, and it's what sparked my interest into going to Suffolk County Jail, because bringing peace and hope to human beings, living human beings, people who are suffocating between four walls in a room, giving their voice a voice and a space to find joy in just life and living, the small things in such a massively evil world. It's my reason to continue fighting for people's rights, for human rights, for just the right to live, especially as a Black person, a Black human being in this world, the right to breathe. Simply, that's where my spark comes in at. That's my reasons for doing what I do, for being a storyteller. just having the opportunity, the blessing to even have a platform to open up doors for people to tell their story is massive. And that's why I'm just so blessed to be able, being connected with Jahala and Rosh Jahala and being able to hear their story. That this is, it's their table. It's their table, and it's giving much needed conversation that needs to be told throughout this world on a daily.
Of course, I understand. And I'm just wondering, I'm just going to invite people who are here in the room, because we're coming to the, thank you so much, Von Derek, and people in the room to invite them. It says Q&A. It always implies that somebody has a question, and then we're going to provide an answer. And in fact, I don't know. I think we all have questions, and maybe we all have answers. But I'm going to invite everybody who's in the room, to write something to us and to everybody, so that the panelists, Von Derek, Jahala, and Rosh Jahala, can actually read what's in your minds and your hearts. And we're going to try and close this out pretty soon. But what we're going to do, so I just want to invite everybody to write. I'm going to ask Louis whether he has any words to add into this, and then we're going to do some closing outs. Louis, over to you.
Just wanted to add one aspect to this. One of the things that's happening right now in the streets, and has been happening for a while, from even before George Floyd was murdered, is America realizing that Black men or Black people stopped for minor traffic infractions can be killed, right? We know that. And so we're afraid of that. But there's a larger thing going on for Black people in this country. No matter what class you're from or what privilege you have, you grow up Black in America knowing that you dare not catch a case. No matter what. You do not want a traffic ticket. You don't want anything to get you in the system. And that's something that people need to understand. The system of incarceration, Rosh Jahala and his family are like at the center of the circle, but it's a circle that keeps widening out. And everybody, no matter who you are, if you're Black, you live in terror of a parking ticket, of anything that gets you down to the court, because you never know what happens. You never know how that one parking ticket, that one jaywalking ticket can be flipped into God knows what. And then that's it for you, right? So I just want to point out that this whole system is more than just the horrors of the violence and the incarceration. It's a whole broader cultural sensibility that keeps a lot of us all in fear as you grow up, and become a man. It doesn't go away. I just wanted to throw that in to broaden it a little bit.
Oh, well, yes, and yes, absolutely. And we've heard horror stories of this too. I mean, and you're absolutely right, Louis. And I'm thankful to all those people who are putting comments in the Q&A. I mean, we should rename Q&A to be A or Q rather than Q, because it always implies that they are people who don't know and have got questions for us, and we've got the answers. But this kind of binary that I don't like that much. But I'm going to invite my my colleague. I should want to first point out that we are doing this as part of a larger Prison Arts project, and two of our wonderful colleagues are here, Brad Dumont and Crystal Moran, who are co-architects of our Prison Arts project. They're here in the room, and we're very grateful to them for leading this with us. It's incredible. I'm going to call. Sorry, did someone want to say something? And if I interrupted somebody there.
I just said thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I'm going to call on my wonderful co-curator, Judy Braha from the School of Theatre, to switch on your camera, Judy, and join us.
Hello, everyone. So glad to have you all here. I just want to say it was such a privilege to meet and work with Andre, Ross Jahala, and Jahala, and to introduce them to my former student, the wonderful Von Derek Taylor, for this collaboration. So thrilled to be a part of sharing their stories and creations with you all. Wanted to make you aware that Children of War is part of a project in response to this explosive and challenging year of multiple pandemics. We initiated the project Race, Prison, Justice, Illuminating Story Through the Arts, supported by the Thurman Center for Common Ground, the Initiative on Cities, the Arts Initiative, the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, and of course, the African American Studies Program as part of the CFA Prison Arts Project. If any of you feel compelled to join us as artists, activists, or supporters, please contact Andre or myself. Our emails are in the BU system. You just put our names in, they'll pop right up. The project has provided a space for us for participants across the university to tap into the unique and resonant power of the arts as a form of activism. Our virtual gallery of activist art opens on April 22nd for the Race, Prison, Justice Project. So we encourage you to please watch for flyers online and come visit the gallery. And also to come to the forum on April 23rd to discuss the process of making art for activism. Thank you so much.
Thanks very, very much, Judy. And I'm going to turn over to our three panelists, Ras Jahala, and then Von Derek, for a closing sentence from each of the three of you. Ras Jahala first.
Remember, your children are your future.
Yes, I just wanted to tell everyone that I appreciate you guys for listening to us, our story, and being a part of the discussion and aligning yourself with something that a lot of people try to shy away from. So I do want to tell you guys thank you for that. And I also want to say, I feel like everyone has the same purpose in life. And I'd like to just share this with as many people as I can, that I believe everyone has the same purpose in life. That purpose is to help others. So as long as you're doing that, you're serving your purpose in life. And just continue doing that.
I would like to close it by saying change is here. Change is now. It's about time we started listening to each other, turning words into action, fear into hope, and heartbreak into love. Yeah, so like King T'Challa once said, more connects us than separates us. The wise build bridges, the foolish build barriers.
Well, on that note, I want to just say once again how immensely grateful I am to my our colleague Louis Chudsoki, to have extended the generosity and the hospitality of the African American Studies for us to be here. We think about Children of War as being something that extends beyond this. There are so many people we work with in our work in prisons. People who are in prison, their families are outside. People who've come out of prison, who are in the same architecture of circumstances as Ras Jahala and Jahala, and we feel that there are stories to be told. That we need to listen. We need to listen with our hearts, not just listen with our minds. Not just listen with our ears, but we need to listen with our hearts, and we need to be motivated and provoked to act and move forward to enact justice. So in that context, we think of this as a growing project. We hope that African American Studies might be a place in which we could meet in person. Who knows whether that might be possible at some stage in a post-pandemic reality. But we certainly think that we need to understand much more deeply. We're here to learn. And so to all of those of you who joined us today and who've stayed with us through this Please stay with us as we continue at Boston University through the arts to forge a way to understand and to work for justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
So we're going to give a couple of screenshots here, folks. So don't go. Judy, can you turn on your camera? We're going to do a couple of screenshots. So we can do a, thank you, Bramwell. People saying thank you to us. So we're just going to say those wonderful comments in the Q&A. And
There's some really good questions in the Q&A.
So can we do some screenshots, folks? And because I think that's really important, and people are still in the room, but well, let's which is fine. Let's we've got us here, so put on your Deirdre, please put on your camera so you don't feel as if otherwise people won't. Yes, please put on your exactly. And I don't see the microwave in the back, Louis, but so.
You know, from being in prison, the microwave, we became microwave chefs. So don't let them, we are masters of the microwave. So don't let them fool you just a microwave dinner now. I see what a microwave can do.
Saving my game.
Okay, let's have a couple of screenshots. Give us your most serious looking face. Can you give us something with your hands? Can you do something with your hands? I mean, can you do something funky with your hands?
Funky?
Like, look at Judy. Like, you know, come on.
Yeah, that's why I was following Judy.
Come on, be like me.
Okay, do something weird.
Okay.
All right, folks. I think that kind of wraps it up. Louis, we're very grateful to you. I wasn't trying to throw you under by saying we do something in person, but you know, the idea just came to me on the spot and think, okay, well, maybe we should think about something like that.
Just want to throw one thing in. Deirdre James, thank you for all your help putting this together.
Oh my God,
Yes.
Deirdre,
Very
thank you so
patient and
much.
diligent.
thank you so much, Deirdre.
Thank
Without you, it would not have been possible. And for tolerating us and for tolerating me, not because I was incessantly making unreasonable demands on you. So I'm grateful to you.
It's hard to tolerate Andre.
Well, no, Deirdre's official title is she's in charge of unreasonable demands.
You mean she's got to put up with your microwave? Is that right?
So, this has been a pleasure. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody. See you then.
Bye.
Uh-oh.
Hang on, I just want to I want to read the Q&A for a second.
Yeah, there's some good things in there.
Yep.
Oh, Beth Morrison attended. What a surprise.
So many people, I'm just grateful, man, just to be a part of this whole thing, man.
If you guys want to type any answers to these questions.
Yeah, you can do that
I
too.
attempted to, and it didn't really allow me. So,
What do you mean?
there go Jazzy.
You can't answer them?
Well, I attempted to, and they asked me, did I want to do it live? I said, maybe I
you
did
gotta do it
something
live.
wrong.
You got to do it live.
Oh, no, it says, okay, I give you two options, type answer. Okay. You know, my bifocus is at the bottom of these glasses, you know. I don't see anything close until I do like this. So.
This is Jesse's father.
Who?
Tovi?
Oh, yes, right. So I think people are still asking questions. So I don't know what you can still answer them. I
kept trying to figure out Brad's name. And then when I was tagging everyone, I said, it's Crystal. Then it's the guy, what's his? And I went through my emails trying to find his name. I couldn't find his name nowhere. And I
Brad
was,
Dumont. It's
I was like,
Dumont is his last name.
yeah. When I hear it, it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
But I kept
Right.
trying to tag, when I was putting everybody, it was trying to give him a shout out, and I was unable to do so.
Anyway, while we're all together here, I do want to say it went extremely well. I mean, how do you guys feel about it?
I felt good about it. I didn't stumble as much as I thought I would. So that was,
You did so
for
well.
me.
Yeah, you
You
did great.
so well.
Still got
You did
attendees.
amazing.
Huh?
What, Jahala?
Say, I hope y'all aware we still got attendees.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I know.
All right.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And they can still ask questions. So you can. I've got to go to a rehearsal, so I got to leave you guys.
Yeah, I got to go as well. But
It
I think
froze
you
on
guys
me
did.
again. Oh, this is bad.
You guys did so well. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. If you want to engage with people, please feel free to answer live or type answers. And we will talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Anybody got any questions? They can run it.
Okay.
They can run it. They got questions in the chat box. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna do this thing like a live.
That's why Dr. Dre went. It froze on me.
I want to tell everybody who actually said thank you, man, and appreciated it. That, man, thank you for showing up. And because this subject, it is not only is it dear to us as that we participated in this whole thing, but this is actually a subject that has broader ramifications. Like when you talk about the children and what has happened to the children, this is because of mass incarceration, right? So when you look at that, then what is the solution to this problem with the children? It has to be returning their parents. That is the obvious thing, or at least at the minimum, making some considerations where the children able to interact with the parents in a different way or in a more freer way than they currently do. So in both instances, this is going forward, pushing this discussion going forward can have a lot of major impact, because it can lead to, hey, change some of these laws that are giving these draconian sentences that's taking people away from their kids for decades, for crimes nonviolent crimes, for crimes that are, situational, different crimes a person may did it out of monetary, been in need of money or whatever. And yeah, he should get punished, but it is how you punish. He didn't hurt anyone, didn't kill anyone, it didn't, and it's instead of how we have currently been, where this side is just, doing what they're doing of crime and thinking about, I need the money, right? Get the paper. Then this side is saying, we're going to punish them for doing that. And by the punishment, it's not stopping. Then you put a harder hit. And then it's like, becomes truthfully child abuse, because the government and the state's government, federal government, are like the shepherd or the parent of all the citizens. They're governing their affairs and their lives. So what do you get when you have a parent who, because we're in their custody, right? So what do you get when the parent or someone who's the guardian or custodian of someone begins to punish them harder and harder and harder, you know, and we don't accept that, not in a old folks home, not in a orphanage, not in a household where a person, you know, the husband do the wife like that, or the parents do the children like that. We don't accept it. But for some reason, we started accepting this concept of punishing, and then, no, that's not hard enough. Punish them even harder. No, forget the belt. Go get a switch. The switch not working. Go get a stick. The stick not working. You know, and it's abuse. And so if we this whole discussion can go further into all of that and saying, hey, let's scale back some of this, and cause we have to make it realistic. Give them a punishment befitting of the crime they committed, and let them do their time and go on back to their families. And let us create some situations within these prisons, because incarceration is the only thing they're supposed to be receiving, away from, you know, not to be free, deprived of liberty. That let us create some conditions within the prison where they can interact with their children more. We can give them more minutes on the phone. We can give them more of this or that. So this is even though we look at it in the spectrum where we have presented our art about a particular subject, but it's got a broader implication that I think that it is important that we continue to further this conversation, and that everyone who participated need to now just, like, you know, share this moment with others, and let us get this conversation going where it can further, you know, to talk about some, you know, get past just, you know, the simple children of war, you know, and a simple thing. But we identify the problem. Let us talk about solutions. You know, if we push it forward, that's where it would lead, you know. That's my thoughts, you know.